first we're going to ask for approval of the minutes of May 8th.
So moved.
Okay, has been moved, second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, all opposed? It has been approved.
Ms. Gonzalez is a little under the weather, so she's actually going to do a few things for her, and I will do it as long as she wants me to, and she'll take over if necessary. Next item, community reports, committee reports rather, and Dr. Torrey actually just convened a teaching and learning meeting that was well attended. So Dr. Torrey.
Teaching and learning met just in front of this specific meeting. And we discussed a number of issues, including the summer school program, the process for approving of international trips, thank you. At the Teaching and Learning Committee, we just talked about the summer school program, the process for approving international trips, the issues needed to be addressed by the Teaching and Learning Committee for the next year, as well as for a conference that we're planning probably around the middle of September, and we'd like to have as much input as possible. It's a conference for us. It's not just a international conference or even a local conference. We may invite people from universities, from other areas and that sort of thing, but it's a conference to help New Haven first be able to talk to itself among the different districts, different departments, different areas and that sort of thing, and be able to have the luxury of sitting down and talking as deeply as possible on all these things, as opposed to just running around on a day-to-day basis trying to make agendas fit here and there and that sort of thing. So that's the purpose of the conference. And then the last thing that we discussed was some initial comments on the trip, of the recruitment trip that just took place to Puerto Rico, and that was exciting. So that's the extent of the report of the Teaching and Learning Committee.
Personnel. Are there any personnel committee reports? Yes, what I did. I think though, because of the time of the year, we're gonna have to sit down with Dr. Mayo pretty soon to get a sense of critical vacancies. Because we've had a few critical vacancies for the entire year. And also a way forward.
Did the board approve analyst committee? Did we do that before we moved?
The president actually sent a memo out to board members indicating the president and vice president secretary will be present. Yeah, we have to check the bylaws, but that's.
If we do, can we just?
So, absolutely, it's good. So it makes sense for to be elected. I understand. Dawson, Governance Committee?
Yes, sir. Governance Committee met last Monday. It was well attended by so what we were able to do though is go back through the what we wanted to put forth from the meeting that was on Saturday, the retreat. And basically there were two major things. One was the bylaws, making sure that we reiterated to central office staff that we wanted to use CADE to go through our bylaws with us, and for them to sort of take the lead and help us update them. That message would be for Will Clark, if he could help us with that. And the second thing was part-time employees. We're still concerned about just just being notified about that right now. I know that was already mentioned to Dr. Mayo, he's aware of it, but also just wanted to restate that for the record, that's something that the board is interested in knowing, at this point, at the very least, knowing who those part-time employees are and when those things happen.
I'd like to commend you for the work you did in helping organize it, as well as your, sage advice during the retreat. Really educated.
It's part of the team, sir, it's part of the team.
Both.
I'd like to, echo those remarks. I'd also like to add to the part-time issue. I know Dr. Mayo said that, he has that information for me on his desk, goes to the news, right, I'm not sure if I'll be able to make it back myself. So I'll get that tomorrow and I'll distribute it to the rest of the board members. But I think, comes even more important with the argument today about possible hiring of a New Haven employee as a part-time employee or giving money to the city of New Haven for a salary for a New Haven employee. Again, that just shows how important it is for us to have a system in place where there are controls, so we know exactly what's going on as fiduciary responsible folks, fiduciarily responsible people for the school district. We need to have that, those facts. So, in regards to the letter that went out today from in regards to the letter that the president sent out asking for more information on that particular hire, I'd like to actually expand that letter to add that to all hires that have been done in the district, that the board, that were off the grid, that the board did not see, didn't approve, that were not any report to the board, both contractors and both contracts and part-time employees. I think we need to have that information just become part of the regular reports. Can you give a deadline for that information, Madam President? Can we put the deadline on that? Okay. Thank you.
And if I understand you correctly, we're talking about, in reference to that newspaper article, we're talking about consultants, contractors, a whole lot, whoever we spend money on.
Absolutely. Whoever we give money to, we should be knowing what money we give them, where it comes from, how it's being paid, unaccepted. One of the articles, the newspaper article, there's still a lot of questions about whether we can pay it or not. So, I think we need to do that. I know that it may be difficult for this present superintendent to be able to go past his term. So I'm just past his term, for his term. So I'm just asking, for me, I like to get the information from his term on, except for that one particular case that you asked for. That should be added to the list.
I actually think that we need to find out what he inherited, because I think in fairness to Dr. Mayo, that we need to find out what practices were before it came back into the system. In terms of those hires that you talked about. And I would also add that we need to know what we got for money. You and I have had discussions about, being able to have people annually get contracts, but yet no data indicating whether or not they were effective in areas that they were hired for.
I actually agree with that. But I like to see this done as in two parts. I like for him, because it's easier for him to compile the information from his term. So I like to get that as soon as possible. Then he can start backtracking on the other information. But I like to see that information as soon as possible. Because we talked about this in the retreat. It's important that we put those controls in place. I mean, the mayor was really, she had concerns about that also, and said that her staff was talking to the state legislature about forcing some controls. Well, okay, so I think we need to get on top of that as soon as possible.
Madam Chair. I'm not sure what you're talking about with the contracts. So, you talked to me after the meeting, and I didn't see the contract. Most of the contracts were
just said most contracts, so that doesn't mean that all will do. If they all will do, then that's fine, that's not an issue. But also, if you have personnel who are on contract, I'm not sure if those folks are part of this report. If you have a person who you hired for 4 months to do something as an employee, but they're a contractor, if they're not a part of this finance report, then I'd like to see that information also.
4 months, they could come through.
Thank you.
All right, with finance and operations, we met Monday the 15th. And, we're actually putting, yes. I know you have some questions. We're putting up for approval, 1 abstract, 9 agreements. There are a total of 15 contracts, however, we are tabling 1, for a total of 14 contracts. 1 full construction and 1 purchase requisition. Mr. Wolf, you have some questions?
I do, but I'll wait for the abstracts.
Okay.
Building committee, Dr. Torrey?
Thank you. The building committee, we did a number of things, but I think the 2 major ones to report on are the updates on the current projects going on, including the Strong School at Southern Connecticut. And then we asked that a subcommittee of the school building committee, of the citywide school building committee, be put together to deal with the last few schools that we have to finish up, all of the schools that we have. We have Quinnipiac, West Rock High School in the community. I think there's 1 more, and Creed. And I asked the committee members, I think we have just about everybody, 1 more person who's still waiting on a response for subcommittee membership. I asked that Creed be put at the top of the list of that, because even though the buildings that the other schools have may not be in the best condition, at least they have buildings. For 20 years or more, Creed has not had its own place, so it's floating all over the place. And as I understand it, it wasn't going to be part of the school building committee's efforts to deal with all of our schools, so now it is put on there. And we'll keep you abreast as to what happens next. What I've asked the committee to do, we're gonna get everybody scheduled and probably in mid-June, pull together and then have that committee get its own chair and go forward with what needs to be done. We've got a lot of really good people affiliated with the committee, either the members of the committee or they will be helping out. People like Supervisor Birch will not be a member because state prevents that, be somewhat of a conflict of interest. She may at some point be instrumental in figuring out if we ask for monies, what happens and that sort of thing. But she did check it out, she will be able to consult with us. She knows how to do these things very well. And we've got Will Clark, we've got Bob Lynn, who's the head of getting the schools organized so far. 1 rep from each of the schools, Karen, and I'm forgetting her last name. What is it? Gilbar, who's also has a lot of good focus on how to get places and so forth. And the mayor gave a lot of good suggestions, finding what may be available in New Haven right now, and start from there. And myself on that committee. So that is the extent of the report.
Thank you, Madam President. I took a real beating when I said that Creed was not a priority for the school district, and now it's there to pour out with the facts, but it wasn't even on the list. So now my question to the building committee chairman is, I think you said in your report that you suggested or that you requested that Creed go to the top of the list. Has that decision been made yet? And if not, when will it be made?
Let me just say that everybody's that I have spoken with so far is in agreement with that. Every member of that committee is in agreement with that. We have, there's one more person, a representative of one of the schools, the principal, who has not responded yet. But I have spoken with the principals of the other schools as well. As you know, I don't believe in transparency, I believe in clarity. Going way beyond transparency, you can hide a lot behind transparency. And upfront with each of them, and they're in agreement with that. So that's not an issue so far. Everybody that I have spoken with, that's been one of the major points, and everybody so far has agreed with that.
So to be clear,
Thank
when,
you.
when will that committee make that decision?
Well, when it meets for the first time, which we're shooting for, we're looking at everybody's calendar. We're shooting for mid-June meeting, the first meeting of that committee.
Thank you.
Mr. Dawson?
Is there a plan for the 17-18 school year for Creed?
Oh, yes. In other words, do they have a place to be? Is that your question?
Other than the place they're currently at?
No, they just signed a lease, and Will, I don't know, because it was supposed to come to your desk, has that lease?
Go back forward, so that's go.
Okay, so they have signed a lease, they're negotiating with Gateway, the campus out in North Haven. And I think, in my estimate, I think they're doing a good negotiation, because I think it's a 3-year lease, but either side can get out of it within 90 days.
The lease is actually being negotiated, it hasn't been signed yet.
Okay, so the lease is being negotiated, but so far it seems to me like, they would be able, it's all amicable, and, they should be able to, say for example, we find a place in 6 months from now, they should be able to get out of the lease and move into whatever new place, that sort of thing. So it is a good arrangement, once it's finalized and signed.
Okay, sounds good. Of course, I yield to all the expertise at the table, but the question I think is sort of glaring question is, why wouldn't they move into the spot that Easton was, that just vacated? I mean,
Reggie, could you use the microphone?
That building has been bought by Aces, so they've been in multiple buildings that they have on Stiff Street, we're trying to bring it all to that's so.
So everything's on the table right now, and, when the mayor asked the question about, what's available, a lot of suggestions were put forth, including the area where, adult ed is, because there is a lot of space there, we'd have to do whatever negotiating and that sort of thing. But everything's on the table, including building the Taj Mahal. I mean, that's not off the table yet. I doubt that that's gonna happen, but, everything is open right now.
Thank you. Head Start, is there anyone here for Head Start?
Can I request that you, add to the next agenda, going forward until we complete the process, the superintendent search committee report?
Okay. Yeah, there should be on. Take two. Okay, next is our student report.
Hi everyone, so we went to a board retreat, and one of the things that we discussed was magnet schooling and how choice works. And I know a lot of students have been coming up to me asking me how choice and enrollment works. And I just really think that whether it's sending informational brochures or, because I had a really big misunderstanding on what school choice was until I actually sat down with the director and I just realized how it worked. And I think it's really important for us to get the information to parents on how school choice really works. I think there's this conception of how it works versus reality. I think it seems like, oh, you guys just get to choose whatever schools you want and that's it. When in reality, it's more of I don't want to use the word lottery, but it's also chance and things like that.
You can use that word.
I already used lottery, oh, there we go. It has a lot more to do than that than just picking a school to really get out to parents. Another thing is graduation is coming up, which is really exciting time for students so I had a question about like Naviance and self-reporting. A lot of students have to self-report what colleges they do and don't get into and what scholarships they do and don't get versus the guidance counselor doing it. Would there be a way to switch it so that it's like on, I don't know if that's in the system or the program, but I know a lot of kids just aren't writing down what colleges they've gotten accepted to or what scholarships they are, and like, I don't know if it's possible, it probably isn't or else they wouldn't be doing this, but it'd be really great for it to just be the way, like, I haven't gotten that.
Carl, in the past, that was a report that the guidance department gave to the principal in the high schools. They would let the principal, they would name of every child in the graduating class and what their plans were for the young high school. And the schools they were accepting into the scholarship office at that point. I didn't know that because I actually lived with the person that did that at the high school. So I don't know if they're still doing it, Dr. Mayor, the report. The report that the chief guidance person had to give to the principal in the high schools, who the kid was, where they were accepted, scholarships they got, and so on. In fact, they used to post it on the walls at the schools.
Why don't they have it at the schools? I'm not so sure they host it certified per se, but they certainly have award ceremonies each year where they go
I think what Carl's talking about is a database that would identify every kid in the school, where they were accepted in the school, and what scholarships they earned. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, because it's right now Naviance is self-report, and like the guidance counselors are always saying like, guys, put it in, but then students aren't doing that. Or like it's just based on what they put in, so they can't say they got into school that they didn't get into. And I was just wondering if there was a way to like connect the two.
I saw a chart right here, but Dr. Garcia Barber should be able to answer that.
So, to the best of my knowledge, it's both. We really have to encourage the kids. I mean, these are seniors that are graduating, going off to college, and so to put that responsibility solely on the school counselors to be maintaining that, I think is a bit much. We have purchased the Naviance system, we're paying good money for that system, there's no reason. The students are managing their whole college application process through that. They're uploading their essays, they're sending out their transcript, their transcript information. So, I mean, I'm removed from that role right now, so I have to check on that with Shaka. I know that we do collect that information and produce a report at the end of the year. But we do have systems to manage that.
But short of it, we'll find out what is taking place right now. They're removed also from this focus. And my thing is, if it's not being done, we can't have it done. Absolutely.
Also, in terms of like partnerships and community involvement, I was just wondering like, if a partner wants to get involved with a specific school, is the same process for every school, or is it like different for each school, or do they have to go to central office to get? So like, what the process is it the same for each school? And like, if it is the same, like, is every school doing it the same way?
I think that's one of the areas where we have struggled with for the last couple of years. There should be a process that's driven by standards set by the board in central office, because I know when I worked in New York, if you wanted to work in the school, you had to be fingerprinted, you had to submit to a background check. Because everybody that wants to work with schools don't necessarily come with the same noble motives. So if we don't have a policy for strategic partnerships, we ought to develop one so that we can take people through background checks, fingerprint them, and do whatever is necessary that makes sense to make sure that we protect the staff and students. Because I have seen cases where people have worked with schools as mentors and what have you, and it didn't work out the way that it was intended. So I think that we need to determine first if we have a policy that's standard for all schools. That includes background checks, and if we don't, we need to have one. And have the superintendent sign off on, yeah. That,
We do have the same process on that personal register. Let's have fingerprints, that, that is the policy, and I'm not saying somewhere down the line, something else.
So the committee member wants to work with the school, for example, they have to go to central office and then get to the.
good, that was a good.
Is Mr. Spell, do you have anything?
Many students have come to me with concerns about Power School. Some teachers do a great job at keeping the grades updated, while others don't update grades until close to the end of the work period. And students would like more consistent updates so they can stay on top of their grades and address any problems before it's too late. And Power School is a great tool, so we just want to make sure that we're getting the most out of it.
Thank you. We're now going with the superintendent report and updates. Dr. Mayor? Oh, yeah.
Well, what we do is, I'll have the supervisors, the math supervisor, well, all the supervisors, all of the grades go in. So we'll check with all of the schools to see which people are doing well and which people are not doing well. And principals, to get on those folks or not. That's an internal thing that we do at the supervisors.
Okay. Now we're gonna go with the superintendent reports and updates.
Thank you so much. I feel like I've given a report already. Just a couple things in your packet. First of all, we have all of the graduation and promotion exercises. Please take a look at that. If anything should change, we certainly get back to it. We also have industry activities for each of the schools. Please take a look at some of those, and I would hope that some of us would go out to visit award ceremonies and so forth at schools. Let me also say that I want to commend the kudos to Mayor Hop, because one of her 10-point plans was to set up a blue ribbon commission on reading in the school district. And of course, she put together a dynamic team of people who actually were broken up into teams, 2 or 3 areas that they paid attention to, and they come up with some great recommendations for our school district in order to work from to make reading a more successful thing in our school district. So I want to again thank Mayor Hop. There's a lot of work left to be done, and of course, it's my job and the job of the supervisors to ensure that is done. We know that reading is the cornerstone of education, it's the foundation. Nothing can happen if these young people can't read. Can't even do math today because everything is like problem solving, reading. So thanks, Mayor Hop, for coming up with that great idea and coming up with these great recommendations. We will be continuing to work on this, and of course, I'd like to say that we have started some great work with the early childhood curriculum. Got a team of people that are working on that, so hopefully by the end of the summer, we will be presenting a plan to you what we have in mind for early childhood, that's our pre-K youngsters. And of course, we gotta build that strong foundation there in order for young people to go to kindergarten and be successful. So I take my hat off to those people, Claudia, Bird, and all of those individuals that are associated with the program. Didn't find out too much about the recruitment fair that took place. Lisa, did that go well?
Very well.
two applicants, oh no, come up last week. No, the recruitment fair for the teacher district recruitment fair, that was successful as well. We had over 200 applicants who actually attended the fair, if not a little more. The curriculum supervisors were there.
I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt, but we can't hear you.
Might need to come up to the,
Lisa sighed because she just got back from Puerto Rico.
She's tired because she got that.
Good evening, board, good evening, mayor and board members. I'm extremely tired because my son graduated from college last night from Alberta Staten, so that's why I'm extremely tired. So, yeah, and I did just come back from Puerto Rico on a recruitment trip, so that was very tedious as well. But we did host our third annual district hosted career fair, which was very successful. That was a few weeks ago. We hosted in the field house. Debbie Breland, our minority teacher coordinator, she spearheaded that. And we did have curriculum supervisors there. We had principals there. We received more than were coming and going. It was about 260 applicants that came through. Some of the applicants have been recommended thus far for upcoming for the next school year. And I believe Dr. Mayo has approved some of those applicants last Friday, which will probably appear on the next upcoming board meeting agenda for the next school year. So it was successful. It didn't appear to be as crowded as it was last year, but last year we held it at Cross. It was a much smaller venue. This venue was much bigger. We're at the field house this year. But it was very professional. The candidates came in. There was opportunities for the curriculum supervisors to interview the candidates right there on the spot. So it was successful, and we did get a lot of applicants that came through, and we just encourage them to, anyone interested to still apply online, and we will be following up next steps.
So I have a future daughter-in-law who went there. She's out now interviewing. One school was calling her back to make a presentation. I think my son would be very happy. We had a great science fair last week, probably one of the best. In terms of the quality of the projects, I think they were the best Richard I've seen. And in terms of the young people in explaining their projects was the best that I've seen. And all the kids that I've been doing for that. So I didn't know whether you wanted to say something. Certainly want to say it's very, very successful. I appreciate all the good work.
Before you do that, since we have Lisa at the mic already, can she give us a brief report on the superintendent search where we are at this point?
Okay, so at the last board meeting retreat, I did come to the board meeting retreats to give an update. So where we currently are, again, I think many of you may already know that we have secured a search firm to actually lead the search. And Darnell Wilson is the lead contact with the board members as far as working directly with the search firm, and I am the lead contact for HR. And so we're in the process of scheduling our meeting for hopefully to happen within the next few weeks. Tentatively, it was supposed to be scheduled for June 1st and 2nd, but that date doesn't seem to work for everyone's schedule, so we're looking like the third week in June. And what that's going to look like is now they're going to form focus groups. And focus groups are going to consist of community members, clergy, school administration. It depends on what we think, what you all are looking for in our next superintendent. So, and then the search firm is planning to interview the board members as well and work with the superintendent to determine what you're looking for to create these, to decide on what the characteristics of the next superintendent. Most importantly, what we're trying to do now is that to ensure that we are interviewing all the focus groups. So once these focus groups have been created or implemented, and they can still add on, the search firm wants to meet with each of the folks, wants to interview each member of the focus group. So that's going to take some time. So that's what we're trying to come up with 2 dates, and we're going to have all-day sessions or 2 days exactly to determine who's going to be part of these focus groups, so we can continue to add to them, but we have to kind of determine who these focus groups are going to be before we can move forward. But right now, because we have agreed to the search firm, they are now currently creating the advertisement and job description as far as what we have thus far. So they are advertising in K, and they're going to be advertising a generic superintendent description until we determine and finalize the superintendent search description, job description.
Excellent. Dr. Torrey.
Just a quick question on the fair, on the career fair. Were you able to take a head count so that you could see any trends over the last 3 offerings?
We actually do, and I can get that information back to you. We compared the data from last year and this year. Although we had more candidates last year, this year was more focused on the areas that our needs were, our shortage areas. So we had candidates specifically come out for where we had vacancies and where there's a need. I think one of the takeaways we did get from this current career fair is that next year we think we're just going to advertise that any certified applicant or interested candidates can come out, not just where we have vacancies, because we very well know over the next coming months we will have other resignations and possibly retirement, so we'll still be trying to fill positions during the summer months.
Yes,
I just want to add a footnote to the superintendent circulation that she gave. I know for a lot of people, there's a need for speed. We're going to take our time and do this right. We're going to make sure that focus groups are well represented in this process. Focus groups being teachers, students, administrators, parents, every stakeholder in the system. So we're going to take our time doing it right. So I just want to make sure folks know everything.
thank you. Ms. Ortiz?
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of go along with Darnell said. I want to make sure that there are more students than just the 2 board members sitting here. It's good to get students from like every point of view, even like a middle school student, maybe. Just because I don't think that even though we try to give a perspective to all students, I don't think it's going to be the same as having.
Just so you know, so although Darnell Golson is the lead for the board, all the board members have as much input as Darnell, but Darnell is leading this course right now, so you're more than welcome to share that information.
Dr. Bear?
Before I talk about science fair, I just want to take the opportunity. We had 5 different STEM competitions that New Haven Public School students did well at in the last month. I just kind of wanted to list a bunch of them so that you can appreciate how well our students are doing in science, technology, engineering, and math. As Dr. Mayo said, reading is the key to school, but you know that science is the key to our future. So for example, the robotics team from Career, who you know has won both at the Hartford District event, the New England District Championship, got special awards at the the World Championship in St. Louis on May 13th, was in the winning team for the state championships. So that's a robotics team. There's a Connecticut pre-engineering competition called CPAP. This year we had a school, ESOMS had 2 different teams, a robotics team and middle school teams that walked away with over 8 awards, and that was also on May 13th. There was a state invention convention in which schools that got awards were ESOMS, Ross Woodward, and Quinnipiac got awards at the invention convention. This past weekend, there was something called the Connecticut Innovation Expo Fest. That's year-long projects that the kids work on through courses, STEM 21 courses. And so ESOMS had 6 different teams get awards at the Expo Fest. You know that earlier in March, because we had a press release about it, we had 6 different students from ESOMS, Worthington Hooker, and Wilbur Cross win prizes at the State Science Fair. 2 of those students this past week, Maya Girardi got 4th place in her category at the National Intel Science Fair, and Sophie Edelston from Cross got 2nd place in her category at the National Intel Science Fair. And so then finally this past week we had our own district New Haven Science Fair, so representing 8,000 kids who did projects across the city, 650 kids, 235 projects at Yale Commons, wonderful partners mentors, judges, family science nights, culminating this event. And as Dr. Mayo said, as I was reading the awards, I was so pleased. I was reading the names for trophies of kids from Brandon Rogers, Wexler Grant, Lincoln Bassett, Clinton, Fairhaven, Creed, Career, Cross, Eastham's, etc. Almost every single school. Second place in 8th grade went to an individual from Domus. So that shows you the extent of the benefits. So I can't thank everyone for their support and our partners, and our kids are doing a great job in STEM. Thanks.
Some kid from Mayo won something, right? Preschool?
What's that? Oh, I'm sorry, the Dr. Mayo School. The Dr. Mayo School cleaned up in the pre-K category. Won 3 out of the three prizes, the Dr. Mayo School.
And Title I had their annual recognition of kids that demonstrate outstanding improvement in reading and math. And the Cross Auditorium was full of laughter, happiness, young kids smiling when they got their certificates, parents were there, happy. The food was exceptionally good, let me just say that. Thank you for dinner. And I just would like for Florence, Hazel, Virginia to kind of raise your hand, and let's give them a hand. They had so many kids that the second one, you couldn't get them all at the first one. I think that is June 7th. So, just say to the board, you gotta get out to some of these things. It's really, really nice. We'd like to see some of your faces at some of these affairs. I think that's about it. Mayor Hop and I did attend the fair, New Haven Farms, out in the back of Real High School. We're gonna do a community garden. And the partner with Real High School. And they're gonna have a wellness program for students as well as a couple of the teachers will be teaching young people about farms, different fruits and vegetables. They're gonna have a wellness program for people in the community. The guy that runs that, Russell Moore, is just a passionate guy about helping kids and healthy adults. And Mayor Hopper, I enjoyed the day we had. I hope you did. It was certainly a good partnership that we had. They have 7, and this one will make 8 in the North York area. To the board, we have had meetings here 1 year over what we should have had, obviously. We'll ask you about that. This is the second year we're supposed to be moving around after 1 year. So I'm going to ask you to think about where we'd like to move for next year. Come up with a place for us to do that.
Okay, sounds good.
Ask approval of the personnel.
Dr. Torrey.
Yeah, before that, this is a really belated announcement, but about a month ago almost, we dedicated Eastham's. And we forgot to mention it at the last board meeting, at the last 2 board meetings. So I think that's an important milestone. Beautiful building. Those of you who haven't seen it, you don't even have to go inside the UNH campus. You can see it right from the outside of it as you're driving. Modesty aside, I think it's the most impressive building on the university campus. Now, I don't want to say that too loud because they've been fantastic, but it is a very impressive building. Each time we build one of these, it comes out better and better and greener. So, just so that people understand that we've already dedicated that building.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so,
I'll move to approve the personnel report.
okay, it's been moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, personnel report's been approved. Next is the president's report. Okay, the first thing that we did was, we did go to the Title I award, so I do wanna reiterate what Dr. Mayo said. First of all, they were jam-packed. There were no seats available anywhere in that auditorium. There was no parking outside. They did a wonderful job. It was a wonderful, wonderful award show. I would really love to see board members there. I would love to see more administrators there, more people there, because they, it is a nice show, and parents are actually very proud of their kids. As they did say, the next one is going to be June 7th. That's going to be for our 5th through 12th. So everyone who can get out there, please do. It's a beautiful show. And it's wonderful to applaud and see how well our kids are doing. Next was, we did have our board retreat. We held the board retreat on this Saturday, the 13th, and addressed the following issues: the superintendent search, the new meeting agenda format, which we're using today, the school and district improvement planning process, district enrollment challenges, presentation by Ms. Sherry Davis-Gooch. We had a meeting with Dr. Mayo. We spoke on district improvement template and planning process, school improvement template and planning process, fiscal monitoring and accountability processes. Dr. Mayo will identify key staff to meet with the chairs of the various committees to collaborate on a process to align planning, monitoring, and evaluation of system programs with the state academic, professional development, parent engagement, and student development goals. We will also have to agree on a process to keep the board and the broader community apprised of how we manage fiscal resources. And that is it for the president's report. We are going to go next to public participation. The list.
Shane, while you have it,
Right, well, 3-minute limits, Shay will, keep track of time, as anybody goes over. And, let's not, mention any students' names unless you are the parent or guardian. Let's be civil to each other. That's about all I can remember from that.
Good job.
All right, thank you. Alicia Carabello. Following Alicia will be Alice Weissman.
Good evening. On September 28, 2015, before the board meeting that evening and the vote for Mayor Park to become Board of Ed President, we board members received an email that afternoon informing us that Mr. Jason Bartlett was liaison. Some of us were stunned and recognized that this was not appropriate. Now we have Superintendent Harris reporting to Mr. Bartlett when the state law states that it is this Board of Education, a state entity, not city department, with the responsibility of supervising the superintendent and responsible for all Board of Education decisions. Certainly not the mayor with Mr. Bartlett. This was inappropriate and highly suspicious. Today, the New Haven Register is reporting on a raise disallowed by the Board of Alders to Mr. Bartlett, and Mayor Hart with Superintendent Harris and Victor De La Paz worked out a deal that never came to Finance Committee nor the board. I strongly urge this board to not only further investigate this, if in fact there was a $20,000 payment to Mr. Bartlett, but also what other financial deals were made between these parties that never followed the legal protocols that require the Finance Committee and ultimately board approval. I also need to remind this board that during this period, over 100 new positions were created, never discussed or approved by the board. Thank you.
Weissman. Following Ms. Weissman, Ms. Waters. Chief Grade Waters.
I have one, thank you. I have one question to ask the audience here, including the Board of Education. What was the objective of starting public education in our country? I've asked this question to several people, and some people know and some don't.
To make the Bible,
Someone knows the objective, yes, please.
learn how to read the Bible.
Exactly. And why do we not have the Bible in our classroom yet? We have not had the Bible in the classroom, eliminating it and taking it out of the classroom to our peril. Our founding fathers recognized the value of the Bible. It is the most widely translated book in the world. It's the oldest book in the world. It's been used by classic authors like Shakespeare. And why do we not have the Bible in the classroom? There are several consequences that we've had to face that are quite sad. In fact, the most recent one, maybe you've heard, perhaps I should backtrack why our founding fathers recognized the Bible as to being objective and starting in our public schools, because they recognized that we have a spirit, and that spirit is so important. Not only do we have a body and we have a soul, but we have a spirit. And just as Jesus said, that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. Well, today, fortunately, we have that word that has proceeded from the mouth of God, and that's the Bible. And if we neglect the body, we well know sickness usually follows, and ultimately death. And this is what has happened, that when we neglect to feed the spirit, which is by the word of God, the word that's proceeded from the mouth of God, the Bible, there is sickness, and ultimately there's death. And these are just not words, because recently I heard that in Ohio, perhaps many of you have heard as well, an 8-year-old boy with a tie from probably his dad, a tie, he committed suicide. Children are sick, they're failing, and we're failing them by neglecting to give them the word of God. Now, some people may object because the Bible may be sectarian, but it's not. The Jews wrote the Bible. The Christians live by it as their rule of conduct. And the Muslims quote from the Bible. We have no reason for not keeping the Bible out of the public schools. And I would like to suggest to those who are in authority here that we have a pilot program where in a classroom the Bible can be introduced and taught to the children as it once was. Thank you.
Ms. Eighth Grade Waters, after Ms. Waters is Maria Harris.
Good evening, Board. I'm not coming with no kind of bad news, so y'all can sit back and relax. But first thing I'd like to say is it looks good to see the Board with better faces and with smiles. Y'all were laughing just a few minutes ago. Shay, no, you try it. But I just want to just bring an update and constantly keep bringing you updates of what's going on with the parents. Because I think it's important, because without the parents, you wouldn't have the students, and without the students, you wouldn't have your jobs. So I think it's very important we keep, the spirit of parents and involvement and so forth. I think it's important that we keep that up. I would like to start out by saying thank you to Dr. Joyner for coming out. There were some parents that got together to invite Dr. Joyner and Darnell out.
I didn't get the invitation.
I didn't give one, but I was there. I was present, and I would like to say thank you for coming out because the parents had some good questions on what to look forward to of there was both names, but nevertheless, what to expect in their new election, like what is it that they're willing to do for the new year or their new election. So I think that was really great. Dr. Joyner really gave us an insight. I would like to also just share, because I know that it has been stated before in the past, that a lot of times parents or individuals don't know what's going on with parents. As of this Thursday, May 25th, from 5:30 to 7:30 at Hamden Public School Central Office Boardroom, there would be, if anyone is interested in becoming a board member or interested in what a board member, what the qualification or classification of a board member, that's the perfect time. I think that's very important for us, to partake in that, because we need to really know whether or not our board is functioning the way it's supposed to be functioning and not functioning the way people are making it function. The next thing we have coming up also is June 13th, the restoration of the village, which I would love to make the board members to be there. I know Dr. Mayor will be there, and Garcia Blocker, and Gemma, and Tiffany, and whoever else got the invitation. So please make sure you come because it's important. And I would love for the mayor to be there as well, because this is about us coming together as a village. And also, last but not least, June 17th, we will be having our first Father Day breakfast. We're going to be honoring the kings in our lives, because the fathers are very important, and we do a lot for mothers, and we really don't do too much for fathers. So this year, the day before Father's Day. So I just hope you guys come out and continue to support the parents. Thank you.
Ms. Maria Harris. What else?
Hello, everyone. Okay, it's quick. So, the NAVIES program does not work for all students. Students with IEPs, 504s, or non-organizational skills or management skills cannot use NAVIES properly. It's not effective for them. I myself have personally asked several different times for a student success plan for my child that has an IEP, 504, and the one that doesn't have one. It doesn't work. Someone needs to be behind it, not just a computer saying, oh, put this here, because it's not explaining nothing, okay? No matter if they started in 5th grade all the way up to high school, graduated, it doesn't work. Unified Code of Conduct procedures for 2016-17 are not being followed. A non-physical verbal argument should not be automatically a 3-day out-of-school suspension with parents of an underage child, my child, without my knowledge. Also, without any explanation. So we know that we have spent thousands and millions of dollars on our highest security system. There should be no reason why we cannot view the taping, proving that that child was innocent. Also, because I was refused twice by the administrator and was not even told that my child was out of school, my underage child. Yep, we working on it. We're gonna let everybody hear the procedures of New Haven Public Schools are not being followed. Like always, your administrators and support staffs are not familiar with the correct protocols. The special education department needs to become more involved with students, starting with pre-K3. IEPs, 504s, they need to be looked at. My 4-year-old at the same time has been in a classroom where there's several different behavior issues were put them, I'm wrapping it up, that have been putting her safety in jeopardy. Not just hers, but the whole classroom. You have a teacher getting hit, kicked, punched, things being winged across the classroom. It's not safe. If they have a behavior issue, deal with it. That's why we have special education. Get them diagnosed early. Do not wait until they're 18 until you push them out of school to say we cannot do anything. Yeah. Also, the funds need to be directed properly. These funds are not being allocated properly. Okay, same time. All right.
Ms. Hazel Pappas?
Deferring to me. Yeah.
Mr. Marks? Mr. Marks?
Good evening, everyone. I have several things to say, but at first I would like to thank Dr. Mayo for attending the 37th Florence Caldwell Annual Title I Awards Dinner. And as Dr. Mayo and Daisy Garcia said, it was standing room only. It takes a lot of work putting together a program of this magnitude and a program that's put together by parents. It's an accomplishment in itself. And the gratification in that is to see the faces, the laughter, and the cheer, not only of those parents, but of those students in their beautiful dresses and their wonderful suits. And it was such an exciting night for us as parents to see parents celebrate their children. Also, too, there's been some comments made about the School of Choice program, and whether we want to say it or not, it is a lottery. Let's call it what it is. It is a lottery, but it's not by New Haven's choice that it's a lottery. It goes back to Sheff versus O'Neill. That's where the name came from, lottery, when the fourth grade student in Hartford sued for the rights to have a place to go to have a decent education. We all would love to have the word lottery go away, and this is something for the 20 years that Dr. Mayo was superintendent, has had this conversation. Before Dr. Mayo was Dr. John Dow, so this isn't nothing new. But what we as people who are involved in education and people who teach education, what we forget to realize from 30 years ago to 20 years ago, we're dealing with a whole new generation of parents that do not understand that process. There need to be a series of workshops. You can't just put out a booklet and say, choose your school, because that gives unexpected parents hey, my child is gonna get a great school, but they need to be educated about what Sheff versus O'Neill is all about, and then that process will be easier for parents to understand if they go into the process knowing that there is a possibility that I may choose 3 schools, but because of the process, my child will not get into that school of choice. And I think it still would be a hard blow, but at least they would totally understand the process of what Sheff versus O'Neill is all about. And on this statement, what I'm gonna make, almost that I'm gonna make to guidance council situation, situation. We know and understand that the burdens of guidance counselors are real difficult, very demanding, so many issues. But I'm gonna go back to the days of Laverne Solomon, who was an excellent guidance counselor at Career High School. Shirley Joyner, who's an excellent guidance counselor at Hill House School, and Mrs. Tolson, who was an excellent guidance counselor at Career High School. Yes, the burden may be on the child, but we forget that one key word. They're still children that need help in direction. With all of the ambiance that's out there, sometimes we as an adult have difficult understanding the process of how to go left or to go right with those ambiance. My daughters they didn't do what they needed to do to properly submit application to colleges. Guidance counselors came into the schools, in the classrooms, and embarrassed them to do what they need to do. So when we say behind, every man is a good woman, we as educators need to totally be behind our children, making sure that they're on the right track, getting what they need to do, and not just leave it up to technology. Sometimes still that hand-on-hand process is what they need.
Before you go to the next agenda item, if you don't have a response on here, I'd like to very quickly respond to 2 points that I heard to public participation, if you don't mind. The first is about this investigation related to Jason Bartlett. And I think it's a little unfair to point him out as the case of an issue or a problem with fiscal controls. Fact is, there's a lot of people that have been hired or have contracts with this Board of Education that we have never seen or know about or are in report. I think it's a little sensationalized when it comes to Jason because, quite honestly, he's a sensational person sometimes. And but I think it's a little unfair. Everybody here knows that he and I are not the best of friends. We've had our differences, but I will not unfairly attack him or anyone else when it comes to this kind of issue. Fact is, man was doing the job and he got paid. As far as I can tell from the face of it, there wasn't anything that was in this process that was any different from what we've been doing for the last year and a half that I've been on this board, that I've been asking for changes to. I do not want, first of all, calling an investigation I think is a little sensational. But secondly, again, I want this to be expanded to talk about our fiscal controls and not to focus on one issue or one person. The second issue I just want to talk about, I probably shouldn't address it, but I am anyhow, is about the Bible thing. There are a lot of our founding fathers wisely thought that it was important to not make the official religion of this country and separate church from state. There's a lot of people who read the Bible in this country and this world, but there's a lot of people that read the Quran, the Torah, and the Quran. So I understand that young lady's comments, but I think we need to make it real clear that we support separating religion from the state, and we support all different types of religious study in our system. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Torrey.
Thank you. I agree with Darnell in terms of putting this all together because, yeah, there are a number of issues that need to to be looked at that are similar in nature. I agree that we need to do that. However, with the particular individual that's been named here, I mean, that is public information, that is in the newspaper. And I don't know how we could have done a job for a position that does not exist. There is no position of liaison to the board. Does not exist, never has existed. Could not exist, right? For reasons that I'm not gonna go into right now, but obviously, I mean, if somebody is supposed to be the chair, the president of the board, they're supposed to be doing those kinds of things, not assigning it to somebody else. Right, so that never existed. If he did get paid, and it's all allegations at this point, I'm being as scientific as I possibly can. They're all allegations until proven otherwise. It is a serious matter. We do need to investigate it. This is not just, some small thing about somebody slipping through the cracks or getting a contract that maybe we weren't informed about. This is something that we really need to be upfront about it, and board members need to be advised, at least, maybe it passed under the minimum amount that the superintendent is allowed to approve without going through the board. But regardless, the superintendent is still required to inform the board of all of these contracts, regardless of it for 1 penny or for $1 million. The board needs to be informed. That never happened. And for a position that does not exist, and could not exist. So I think, this is more than enough concern that we need to look into it. And again, innocent until proven guilty, but we do need to investigate this. This is a very serious matter. I spoke with people at CABE, Connecticut Association of Boards of Education, and when they looked at it, they saw the paper, they said, this could potentially be criminal. So it does need to be looked at.
Dr. Joyner and then Mr. Wolf.
I'd like to suggest that we take this matter up in a finance meeting before the next board meeting, and we can give a report to the public at the next board meeting. If we can take up in finance, we can review what we found, and then we can decide at the next meeting to inform the public what we found. That's the type of transparency that we actually need.
Mr. Wolf.
Thank you, Doctor. I think it's a misnomer to suggest that the superintendent has to report all contracts and hires to us. Actually, that is not the case. That is something that I've been trying to get changed for the last year and a half. They've been reporting lately because the auditor said you should put it on the report. But they still do it without our approval. We haven't changed that. I've suggested we change that for the last year that I was chairman of the finance committee. We haven't done it. So to say that this contract may have been done without our approval, and that was wrong, is not the case. The fact is that there are contracts that are approved by this administration, hires that are approved by this administration and the previous administration every day that we don't know about and are not reported to us. Now, the other thing is that we have a symbiotic relationship with the administration. They provide us with funding for some things. Sometimes we provide them with funding when we need help. For instance, we discussed using their finance department with our finance director. We talked about contracting out to them and how much that was going to cost. So we do those kind of things. It's not unusual for us to pay the city to conduct things or to do things for us. And to now throw out it's gotten past investigation and now it might be criminal, I think it's just unfair. And I gotta tell you, as a person who was a victim of this kind of stuff and had to go and sue to clear my name, I find it distasteful to do these kind of things. So I am not going to be part of a witch hunt against anyone at any time. Present the facts, then we'll make a decision on it. But to throw out these terms, it might be criminal because of a newspaper article that can have any facts in it. Just, it seems unseemly to me that we would be even having this discussion, Madam President.
Dr. Torrey?
Just 2 quick points. First of all, I never said about needing our approval. If it's below a certain amount, it doesn't need our approval, but it does require that we be informed of everything that goes on. So that's my point. Wow. The second is, please show me a job description for board liaison to the board president. Please show me that description. It does not exist. I would have never voted for anything like that. I don't think anybody on the board would have voted. So the position does not exist. How do you pay somebody $20,000 for a position that does not exist if there is no job description? Please show me a job description. I will shut up.
Thank you. We are now going to move on to approval of
I'm
action
sure
items.
that the city administration has a job description. No one ever said it was a Board of Education position. It was a city job that we were helping to fund because they were doing some Board of Education work. So I don't, again, you know, if you want to see a job description, I'm sure the mayor or the HR department of the city of Haven can provide you.
We can put it together in a couple of minutes.
But I don't think that anyone has ever suggested that this was a Board of Education position. I have not heard that. That was not in the article. And again, I'm uncomfortable with these kinds of accusations and suggestions and wording that could ruin somebody for no reason other than it's silly season and political season, and now where these issues arose. I've been talking about these issues for the last year. Nobody thought it was important until Jason Barton's name came up. And I'm just uncomfortable with that.
Cora?
I was just gonna say, we're gonna look into it, we'll get back to you guys all, and we're gonna be transparent with the process, and that's what's important.
Thank you, Cora. Thank you very much. We are now going to move into approval of action items. Any questions on the action items?
Oh,
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
I have some questions about some of the finance items. So, can we move, everything except for agreements 3 and 4 and 6, and contracts 2, 3, 5, and 8, 11, and are there more than 11?
I mean, 11, we got 8.
Okay, agreements B agreements, items 3, 4, 6.
Items 3, 4, and 6.
C, contracts 2, 3, 5, 8, 11.
Oh, slow down.
I'm sorry. Contracts 2, contract C, 2, 3, 5, 8, 11, and 14. And I'm not suggesting that we don't pass this tonight, but I'd like to ask questions on it, so I'm just gonna separate them out, get stuff out of the way real quickly.
11,
So I make-
14.
I move that. Contracts were C, 2. Just that's the contracts. Let me go through the whole list again? Okay, let me start over again. Agreements on page 1. Agreements B, items 3, 4, page 2, 6. Contract C, on page 2, items 2. On page 3, items 3, 5, and 8. Let me start over again? No. And on page 4, under contract C, 11 and 14.
So in my packet, I had the wrong one.
So I am moving that we separate these items out for further discussion. Is someone gonna second that?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
I'm happy to support my colleague, I just wanna know, what is the issue, is there something that we
I have a question.
can resolve this tonight?
I just didn't wanna, what's that?
I said, is this something that we can resolve tonight?
I hope so, but I separated them out just in case.
Okay.
And were you suggesting that, let's go, that if we can't resolve it, like, if we vote on what's,
Yes.
and move to the next one.
Right, I was just gonna move the other ones right now.
Okay.
So I'd like to move the finance action items other than the ones we just separated out.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. And
So the reason why I moved these out is I have some questions about the process, not so much about the contract, but about the process. For instance, for item number B, agreements number 3, which is the Jamaica Board of Education, the Justice Education System. I've seen them coming up with a lot of stuff lately, and I'm just wondering how we made a decision on contracts. Was this a bid process? Was this RFP? What was the process that was used to pick this vendor to do this work?
Will?
That agreement is, was put forth by Youth Family Services, and it was, as I recall, the finance meeting, it was to continue and complete some of the work that has been ongoing this year with that partner. I'd have to confirm, I don't believe it was a bid process, I believe that was a professional services partnership that was engaged into for the after-school programming earlier in the year.
So it was not a bid process, it wasn't an RFP process, so how was the decision made to go with them as to another vendor?
I'd have to get back to you on that. It was presented, the finance and operations and the team was there to answer questions, going from my recollection of what they presented.
I know what happened at that meeting, so I'd like to respond. This person had done some work, some real good work at Martinez specifically. But I think Mr. Bosa's point is well taken. You know, the work should have come from a larger school plan, where we then put it out to bid, so that other people that do similar work can have an opportunity to bid on it. I think that substantiates your point, even though I think your arguments about the other issue are a little bit inconsistent. But it substantiates your point that whatever contracting awards we give to people should stem from our priorities, not theirs. And it should stem from a school plan that says that something like this is necessary. It should be put in the form of a request for proposals. Those proposals should be submitted to the superintendent and the board, and we should choose those proposals based on body of work as well as cost effectiveness. And at that particular time, this group had done work in the district. The person in charge actually showed up, Mr. Golson. It actually happened when you were chair of the finance committee. But your point about process is critically important. That, again, it should follow standard operating process for how a vendor gets to be awarded a contract with our school district.
Yeah, and I had the wrong sheet, but just to clarify, the other thing about this was it was not an addition of funding. What they're doing is moving funding around. So they have two programs that you've previously approved, I believe when you were on the committee, Mr. Golson, and what they're, as the year has gone on, I think, as I understand the explanation and the memo that went with it, they have some additional need in one aspect of the program, so they're moving money from one side to the other for additional hours on one of the training programs and less hours associated with another aspect of the program, so that the total amount doesn't change.
I know they have several, so I know that when I was chairman, that we dealt with this group, they had several different contracts with us. I wasn't sure about this training program. It might have been approved when I was chairman, I don't know. but I always had the question of how these groups come to us, how they get funded as opposed to someone else. That's why I highlighted this one. The second one I have is right under it, and it's a little bit of a different.
So am I to understand that this board has already approved the grant, that what this is requesting is that some changes around, or the contract, that some changes around how it's being distributed? So the board has already approved this agency, already approved this, and they're making some changes to.
Correct, this is an amendment.
So it's an amendment.
Right. And I'm not suggesting that we don't approve the amendment. What I'm suggesting is that there's going to be a time next year when you ask us to do a contract for these folks. I mean, coming up to June, I think our contracts go through the end of June. And I'd like to know what the process is that we use to pick these vendors. And I went to this program, I went to one of the programs she went in, I thought they were doing a good job. It's one of the reasons why I approved it. I went and looked at it before I actually approved it, Madam President. So I'm not suggesting that we don't approve this amendment tonight, especially since it's not costing us any more money. I'm just saying that I'm putting folks on notice that I'm going to ask these questions in the future, especially based on the conversation and discussion we just had a little while ago about contractors and how we pay for them.
So for those items that you are asking about that are all amendments, is it the case that
No.
all of them have already been passed by this board?
If they were amendments, but we have some renewal of contracts also, so that's.
I think that explanation goes with the first one, the others will be different.
Just with the first one? I'm just asking a question.
Yes.
I'm just asking whether or not. And it looks like they are amendments, but in number 3, it's already been approved by the board.
That's correct.
But not necessarily some of the others.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
For instance, in answer to your question, number 4 is a little different. We're exercising an option to renew this contract. Now, this is what I really have a problem with, because for me, it seems a little tricky. We have these bids or RFPs that go out for a 1-year contract, and then we add 4 additional renewals to that contract. So we pretty much give these people a 5-year contract. And I'm very uncomfortable about that, because this is basically saying that we're entering into a new contract with this company. And what number, this is the first option, so there's another 4 options after this, is that correct?
That's correct.
Why wouldn't we, doesn't it make sense to rebid this to see if there's a better cost savings out there, especially in the.
For this one, it absolutely makes no sense to do that.
Okay, explain.
We're running a $1.7 billion school construction project for the last 20 years, and one of our core partners in that has been our program management of Cobain. That's been renowned by the state and the nation as one of the best run school construction programs. Part of that is due to the work that we've done collaboratively with Cobain over the years. Their services are in fact bid, go through a process with them. I would say candidly that was more competitive at the outset since they've been there. In many respects, most folks in the industry understand the logic of staying with them. We have projects that are ongoing right now. There's reams and volumes of paper and documents that they maintain, and to transfer that over would, I think, expose us to tens of millions of dollars in transition and potential lost knowledge and information. But regardless, the option here represents, I believe it's the 8th year in a row of a reduction in the services and the cost associated with the program as we continue to wind it down, even though this last year we opened 3 schools in Bowen Field, and are now beginning the Strong School project and doing 3 side stewardship projects that are managed by Cobain as well. So I think we're getting a pretty good bang for our buck while going through multiple audits that have been successfully navigated through the state system, which is an ever-changing, extremely complex, and potentially onerous and costly endeavor. just last year, we had, 7-figure, to the good transition based upon the professionalism and services they provide, and working with me and Dr. Mayo and others, in audits. The greatest, skill they bring to the table with respect to those audits is having been around the project for 20 years and knowing, what does pass and doesn't pass, and how to frame things and file things and so forth, and keep things moving efficiently and move the program along. So I think they've been a great partner. It is bid out. It's very technical work. Some other school districts have not used the program management philosophy and have paid dearly for that. Others have switched to it, Hartford, for example. So I think it's a good model, and they've done nothing, in my opinion, to deserve not being renewed at all. In fact, the contrary is true.
Well, how long have they been managing this new construction program?
At least 1999, 2000. Yeah, we did it in-house to start with for the first couple projects, and quickly became pretty clear that that was not a great idea.
So we bid this out every 5 years?
The way
and then they get a,
when the options went up, yeah.
and they win, and then they get they win for a 1-year contract, and they get 4 additional renewals to that contract.
Right, and of course those come back through, so we could, as you have done in a couple other scenarios, even though we have options that are locked in and may arguably be cost effective. For whatever reason, we may choose to go out to bid if we think the market shifted or we're not getting the service we want or desire, and go that route. I don't think that's an appropriate case with Cobain. Again, as far as the finance operations goes, we do submit a memo and backup associated with that goes out to the board and was discussed at some length at the finance committee. So, that was, those questions were asked there as well, so. But there's more backup that was in that agenda. Perhaps we can submit that to you if we're gonna have a second finance committee.
So in your professional opinion, do you think that amending this would have negative repercussions to our students? Because that's what I care about. Putting it on hold.
Yes, I do. I mean, I think we're going through the process now where we're going through the warranty phase, and the turnover phase continues at all the schools that were just turned over. For example, Easton still haven't accepted the HVAC system because we're not happy with that. And we may need to replace a portion of the basketball floor based on a leak in one of the HVAC units. The tracking of those warranties and the acceptance of these things versus the non-acceptance of these things is critical. Another example, Clemente, a couple of years ago, they delivered an HVAC system which was, in some of our minds, too loud, and that ended up being a litigation which we ultimately prevailed upon, and the main advocates for us technically on that were Cobain. Could have been stuck with an HVAC system very loud in every classroom, every day, for the rest of everyone's life in Clemente. It was unacceptable to us.
Aren't they the ones who managed that, so that HVAC system was in there in the first place? It was their management that put that system in there, right?
Yes, but it's their management system that recognized that decibel level was not met, and holding them accountable to what they said they could do and what the engineer said the system would do versus what it actually did. And without that detailed record keeping, without all those contracts and subcontracts and understanding of that process, would have been potentially a costly litigation the other way. Thankfully, we've, I think, over 15 to 20 years supporting this in one way or another, I think I've been to court in school construction matters less than half a dozen times.
Probably should have been there more, because I hear nightmare stories at some of these schools, these new schools, and the way they're designed, and leaking and all kinds of other stuff. So I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not going to comment on this anymore, but you know, I understand you're giving them rave reviews, I've heard less than rave reviews from people that actually use those buildings. I'm not gonna say anymore.
I'd love to have that actual substantive debate.
Item number 6 on page 2. This is the, student accident insurance. This is again, an option to renew.
Correct.
There's nobody out there that provides student insurance?
It was put out to bid last year, they were the low bidder, it was lower than the prior year before that. So this is essentially a rate that's lower than we had 3 years ago.
So they basically have a 5-year contract. Now, we're never gonna find out if we get a rate lower than this, because we're gonna continue to renew them every year until we have to put up the bid again. Is that correct?
I don't think that's correct, no. We do analyze these things. We have an insurance consultant who does work with the city and assists on some risk management levels if the market shifts. In many cases, we do actually go back.
Is there any contract in the last year and a half, 2 years that I've been on the board that we have not renewed? Want to name one?
Well, I can go through and research it.
Okay.
If you want.
That's it. Contract C number 2, renewal of contract Long Wharf Transport. Same question. It's the same issue, right? Is this the first year renewal?
It's the first renewal. Most of these maintenance contracts, as was explained at the Administration and Finance Committee, and actually as we implemented when you were chair and made this recommendation, we go on a 2-year renewal cycle. So they're not 5, but 2. What it does is basically locks in the cost essentially for 2 years. And then we go back out to bid, and we stagger these so that we have a renewal option on sort of half of them, and we're rebidding half of them.
So is it a 1-year contract with 2 renewals, or?
1 renewal.
With 2 renewals?
1 renewal.
No, 1 year.
Could I use this chance to refresh Mr. Wilson's memory? Because there was a longer contract period, and then when he became chairman of the finance committee, he actually asked for a shorter period, so that if we found vendors that were more cost effective, that they could do it again, so to speak. So I just wanted to actually add that.
And I think that's been mostly successful, actually. It's a good idea.
Thank you. Page 3, item 3 of the contracts. I had that by accident. Right. I think a lot of my people tell me that all the time. Number 5, I highlighted that because I understand the committee folks had a question about that. So
They did, and I got the answer to that, but I did not communicate that back to Daisy, so we're speaking before. If you want to certainly table that, you can. I was confirming with the syndicate purchasing department. It was an issue of the application of 10% rule and whether one of the other vendors was New Haven. On their application, they listed an address in Woodbridge, which is not needed, unless they're not eligible. I asked purchasing to confirm that. They did confirm it. I asked them to confirm that confirmation and haven't gotten back to me with the confirming of the confirmation.
thank you. 9. Contracts, line item number 8.
Yep.
Is this the sole bidder on this item?
Yes.
So we couldn't get anybody, all these 4 places, we couldn't get anybody else to bid on this?
That's correct. It actually is the bid price is quite good. Actually, it was quite good the year before as well, which may have caused others not to bid it for some reason, but we did put it out through the small local business. That's what we do every other one.
Did the bidder stay with this figure, or did they have to change what is it, increase this?
They stay with the figure.
And it's not a sole source, it's a sole bidder?
Correct.
Okay. Item number C on the contract, C 11 on page 4. The reason why I circled that is the same question with the sole bidder or sole source. You're saying it's a sole
He was
bidder.
the only bidder. Well, New Haven, right? There you can can throw a rock and hit it.
And number 14 was the same question, so I'm good.
Yeah, they've been they're New Haven, obviously, they've been a long time. They've done the glass work for a long time.
So, Madam President, I'd like to remove those items except for, number 5, which I understand we're going to table.
Yes. Okay,
Second.
yes, Paul.
Sorry. So what exactly, like, I understand we went through this, but like, number 8, for example, is like a sole bidder, and number 9 is also a sole bidder. So like, why specifically these bids?
Well, we have to bid for these type of services.
You're asking me, right? You're asking me, because I didn't want to highlight all of them, I just wanted to have 1 or 2 examples of each so I could figure out what the process was. So, it was 3 or 4 of them that were sole bidders, I just chose 1 because I wanted to know how, whether it was sole bidder as opposed to a sole source.
Are we going to table all of them that are?
No, we're not taking, we're only tabling 1 item. We're only tabling 1 item, item 5. So there's everything except for item number 5 on page 3.
All right, so it's been moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay,
Madam President, I'll move to table item number 5.
okay, it's been moved. Second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, been tabled. Okay, next.
We have the personnel report.
I'd like to recommend for the next meeting that we get an update on, the alternative education report. Mr. Johnson said that they had information. Since we're trying to, look for ways to improve the development of kids at the low performing levels, we need to really make sure that we, understand what it is we're currently doing with them. And, also think that the board should be able to give a report on what we found when we looked at the matter of allocation of board funds for a city official.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Golson.
I'd like to expand, Dr. Joyner's, question about the city official as to the entire process and how many folks, not just that city official, but how many folks are being hired and paid without board notice or approval.
Okay.
I also like to, I've brought this up at several meetings. I hope that we have a report on the next meeting on what's going on in adult ed, and all kinds of emails about chaos that's going on over there. I'd like to know what's going on. There's chaos over there. And the third issue I'd like to bring up, Madam President, is this issue that we've all got emails about. I've asked for a report from you and the superintendent at this meeting on this issue, and haven't gotten it, so I'm asking officially on record. These school student searches, there apparently was a search at at least one of our schools where they lined up all the kids and checked all of their book bags, and they have also checked their bodies. I thought they have also checked their pockets and stuff like that. I'm not quite sure what it was, but I'd like to know what our policy is around student searches. If I understand it, this wasn't based on any threat, but it was preventative. It was just like, well, this is the school we're choosing this week, and we're gonna search all the kids in the school. So I'd like to know what my understanding is that as a policy. If it is, I'd like to know what the policy is, and then I'd like to have a discussion about that policy.
Okay, on student searches, okay. So for our next meeting, we'd like some information on alternative education report, allocation of board funds, how many folks are being hired and paid, adult education and student school searches, and what the policy actually is on that.
It's not really how many folks are getting hired and paid, it's like,
Yeah, what's the
getting hired
process?
and paid and how that's happening.
Okay.
And the board not be
Not being informed, exactly. Okay,
Madam Chair, I have.
Yes, Dr. Mayo.
I do know that board members get very close to staff. But it appears to be there is some things that I consider questionable. As rather that this board make a policy that while I'm superintendent, okay, if they refrain from doing such. If they want something, I prefer them to come to me while I'm superintendent.
Are you suggesting on the record that there is a member of this board who has tried to coerce a school employee to give a contract?
Take it for what you want, I just thought I made myself very clear.
Well, Madam President, I have a real issue with that. Again, that now makes all of us suspect to some kind of wrongdoing. And if the superintendent is going to make those sort of accusations or suggestions, he should have more information to us. He should at least put us into executive session if he thinks that's happening and tell us what is actually happening.
Just, I didn't call them the names.
You didn't, that's the problem, you didn't call them names.
All right, we'll just,
If the shoe fits.
okay, all right. All right, no, I can't. All right, so we're gonna call for an adjournment.
No, you're gonna respond to that comment you just made.
That comment, we will have a meeting with Dr. Mayo to try and get to the bottom of this. But I don't think it's something that we should discuss in public. So we will sit with the mayor, we will have a meeting with the superintendent, to try to get information as to what it is that's going on. So, call for an adjournment? I have a motion on the floor, can I have a second? It's been moved and seconded, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, we are adjourned.